Hi, this is Kat with Beadaholique, and in this video I'm going to show you how to finish off your peyote bead weaving using large beads. Now I have some 8mm wood beads here, and I'm going to use 2 of them to finish off my odd count peyote. You can of course do this with even count peyote. For the purposes of my design, I ended up going with odd count. So I'm going to be using some seed beads here, and I'm using the colors that I used in my pattern. You can of course use different colors if you like. And as far as beads go, I chose some lightweight wood beads here. I wanted this to feel very summery, but you can of course use gemstones, you can use pearls, you can even use Swarovski crystal bicones, whatever is your fancy you can use. And I've chosen 2 for my design for the width of it, but if yours is wider or slimmer, you can always go with 1 or 3. All right, so let's go ahead and we're gonna start by adding our beads to this side. So I'm gonna do beads and then I'm gonna do loops on the other side. But I'm coming out here, you see I've done that top row there at the top, so I'm coming out that little white bead there at the bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn my thread around and go back into the bead weaving. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up and through and work my needle to a nice little midpoint on the side there. And I'm going to show you where that is. It's going to end up right where that little notch is with the white beads. And you can go through 2 at a time if you have enough space in there. All right, so I'm going to go through that one. And now I'm going to be coming out of this bead right here at the top. So you see right where I'm coming out there? So this is where we're going to start to add on our beads. Now I've chosen to use the beautiful sort of rosy gold color that I have here. You can use whichever color in your design you want to, but what you're going to do is pick up 2 seed beads and you're going to go through one of your wood beads and slide that down. Pick up 3 of your seed beads and we're going to go back down through that wood bead right there. And that's going to create a nice little sort of crown at the top of our wood bead. So I'm just going to scooch that down. There we go. And now, before I go into the next beads, I'm going to add 2 more seed beads, string those down there. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the next up bead that's there. So I'm going to skip that white bead and I'm going to go down through that first little bead there. So this is going to create a nice little crown. And I want to make sure that it's flipped the right way. There we go. We're just going to flip it around. So you can see that I have 4 beads there at the bottom, and then my 3 at the top there. So now to get to do the second one, I'm just going to do what I did before and just weave down in to that bead weaving, just weaving across. And this pattern is really easy to see this on. So weave down 1 more and up through that bead so you can see that it's the mirror of what we have going on over there. So I'm just going to repeat, oops, knock some of my beads out of the way. So pick up 2 and slide that down, pick up my wood bead. Now I'm going to pick up 3 seed beads and go back down through that wood bead. Pick up 2 more seed beads and go through the next adjacent up bead, just the same as we did before. And again, before we kind of scooch everything together, or before we weave down in and tie off our thread, we just want to scooch everything together. There we go. Make sure everybody is in their right spot there, nice and tight. And this little extra space gives you space for the loop that we're about to create on the other side. So that's why I recommend adding the 4 beads there. It's also a little stronger than just sort of one tiny little strand there. Now, if you wanted to, you can turn your thread around and go back over that thread path to secure it, but I'm pretty happy with that, so I'm just going to tie off really quick, and I'm just creating a little loop, going back through, tying my thread. I'm going to go down through and I'm just going to do that once more just for extra security. You can tie as many little knots as you like. If you feel that your work is a little looser or it's not feeling quite as tight, you can always add a little extra one. Oops, let's get that there. And tie that off. Go through one last little bead. And then I'm going to use my thread zap to zap off my thread. sort of press that down. We're heating that up. And just come in and just zap off my little thread there. Perfect. All right, so we have one side that's finished, so I'm just going to flip that over so we can do our second side. And I'm going to use the same color seed beads because I was fortunate enough to end on the same color. So I've already worked it over to that same notch. Now on this, because it's a different pattern on this side because of the way that the triangles are going, but it's the same notch in the bead. So when you look at that, that's what you're looking at. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to pick up 2 seed beads, slide those down, and now we're going to pick up 24. Now, this is where it might vary depending on the size of your other beads. So what you're just going to have to do is sort of guess for your first one and then sort of test, and I'll show you kind of how that works. All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. There we go. All right, so I have all those beads right here. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually do the same as I did before and pick up, I'm going to go through these 2 seed beads, the first 2 that I added. So we're going to create a little bridge. So I'm going to take that needle and I'm actually going to go through that adjacent bead there. And this is going to create that loop at the top. So I'll show you what I'm talking about as it kind of comes together there. All right, so there is our little loop. Now, once you've gotten to this point, you can theoretically undo it if that's not the right size. So what I recommend you doing is actually coming over here and putting your loop through there, making sure it works. And you want to keep that tight so that you make sure that that is the right size that you're going to work with. I know that 24 is going to work for me, so in this particular instance, so I am ready to go on and create that second loop. So all I'm going to do, and I'll show you this all again because I know you're probably going to want to see it one more time, is again just sort of work my thread over. Now this might be the side where you definitely want to go back through and just sort of reinforce that loop just because it only has one strand of very fine thread through it, so you can do that a couple of times if you like. I recommend at least once, but for the purposes of my demonstration here, I'm just going to show you that one more time. All right, so we're going to pick up 2, and then we're going to pick up 24. So I've added the 24, so now I'm going to go back down through the last 2, and again going into that adjacent bead, that adjacent up bead to finish off that loop. So I have my 2 little loops there that are going to work, and now I can go back through, but if you want to see that, you just turn your thread around and go up and through, but I'm just going to finish it off here so you can see the final product. So we're going to go up and through, give a little tug. You'll notice it kind of got a little tighter there. We want that to be nice and snug because this is going to be our clasp, so we want it to be nice and enforced for us. Go up and over to the side. I'm going to tie one more little knot. And pull that through. All right. Same thing, just going to use my thread zap. You can also use snips or scissors, of course. I just like to use my little thread zap. It's nice and convenient for me. All right. So we have our clasp that's done, and we didn't need to use any metal, but I do like that I was able to use that particular color because it kind of looks like a nice little metal finish. So you can come over and just sort of loop through, and this is going to be your clasp, and you're all done. So that is how it looks when you're all finished with this particular technique. So that is how to finish peyote bead weaving using loops and beads. I hope you enjoyed this video. You can get this full tutorial and free pattern by heading over to Beadaholique.com.